Hi, friends. I've got the settings on this thing totally out of whack, but I'm having fun with it, so what the heck? This is what happens when the color intensity is way up, and so is the contrast. And, oh, it's overexposed. So what? So what? Okay, fun. We so often forget we're meant to have fun. We really are. We've been taken off into this trip, this journey in the mind, and gotten thoroughly lost. I'm sure there's a part of us way deep inside that's still having a blast. So maybe a big part of what waking up is reconnecting with that and remembering, hey, we're here to have fun. Okay. Someone asked me if I knew anything or had any opinions about, and I'm going to assume most of you have heard about the strange sounds that have been coming from the earth here and there, and no one has found a origin. It just seems to come from the sky. In one case, it was deep in a cave, and it's here and there around the world. It's interesting. The closest I've come to running across someone who had a security clearance high enough that you might be able to take at least some of what he says is true is a guy who went by the pseudonym Bill Woods and was interviewed a couple of times on Project Camelot. And according to him, it has to do with the underground bases, which are around the world. They're not just U.S. military bases under the states. And he says that it's false to think that they are dependent on shafts for ventilation. That would be too much of a vulnerability. And so they take care of their air below ground just fine. But they do have shafts for venting. If they have to burn things or something, I don't know. Anyway, I will give you links to the two interviews here, and you can make up your mind for yourself. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't, what's a nice word for a mind, if we were just being played with. I really wouldn't. Anything to put the people in fear is pretty much the name of the game around here. And those of us that find our way into heart just aren't playing that game anymore. And so it's interesting to look at these things. I don't spend too much time with it. So there's that. Now, I guess I'm really glad that I wound up doing quite a number of journals, written journals, so that I had them to upload when I wasn't feeling like journaling. And I haven't been journaling lately. I've been kind of not exactly dazed. I was for a little while. Off and on that happens because it's always new. It's eternally new. Whatever we discover. And when I'm reading this biography of Papa G, often enough when I'm reading his words, I step off some kind of a cliff, with what he presents, and you get a whole aspect of reality. Sometimes your whole reality just falls away, and you get a new look, a new perspective. I mean, these words don't cut it, but I've been in the midst of making a lot of internal changes, and I'm not the lone stranger. We're all going through whatever we're going through, and it manifests individually, uniquely. I mean, for the moment, we seem to be unique individuals, and as long as we're playing that game, we can look at it that way. The perspective that it's all one is always also accurate. And so you can dive in at any moment into that oneness, and the raindrop quite loses itself in the ocean. And that's always also true. Um, there's an ultimate stepping off the plank that I haven't quite done yet, but I don't know. I guess I'm getting closer. I don't know. Where am I going with this? What am I saying here? I don't know. I'll read you a journal. Well, let me just try to talk for a while. I keep hiding. Right now I'm seeming to be hiding behind the journals. I'm losing touch with myself a little bit by doing that. This journaling is really a way for me to discover what's in there, because I can sit and I can ponder and I can contemplate and have neat experiences or no experiences or whatever, but it doesn't reveal self to self the way journaling does. I don't know what the magic is. I don't know why it works that way, and why communication. I mean, on the one hand, it seems so important to me. It's like kind of what my life has mastered in is communication. Not just the English degree, but another degree has a minor in communications. It's been fascinating, the different spaces we're in, and how, for the most part, all the talking that we do and everything, we're not really communicating. We're staying on a surface level that isn't really a deep sharing. And for the most part, we're thinking we've understood what's being said, what someone has said or shared with us. And I'd say at least 80% of the time, probably more, we don't. We truly don't. And being deprived of telepathy, which shares not just words, which are kind of sterile. I mean, they're not totally sterile because they come on the waves of your voice, of the sound. And so that's you. And we know in our oneness that we do, on some deep level, we do perceive and understand. I mean, we're God. Hello. But that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with our conscious experience of things, where we think we're understanding things, and we're just not. For the most part, we're not. We're really arrogant in assuming that we understand what someone's saying, when all we are is so full of ourself that we don't even know how to listen. And so communication is really very much a hit or miss affair. It's a wonder any marriage ever succeeds, any friendship, any relationship, when you stop and look at it from heart, which means you're on a way deeper level with communication. Okay, where am I going with this? I don't know who and what I am anymore. The rug keeps getting pulled out from under, and I'm good with that. This is in no way a complaint. I mean, that's our joy. We want to morph back into who and what we truly are. I mean, unfortunately, in a way, once we do that, this whole 3D thing is gone. And it's been such a joy. And we have spent such a long time exploring it. And it's funny, it's getting ready to go poof. And a lot of us are moving on. I guess we wouldn't be able to move on if we hadn't mastered it in some way. We've certainly had plenty of experiences if you look at all of your lifetimes. And, we're getting to where this is going to happen more and more. Just open yourself to it, and you'll find yourself having what seems to be a deja vu or a memory or something, and it won't be anything relevant to your current embodiment, and it'll have to be either a thought bubble floating through the air of somebody else's that you picked up on, or another life. I don't know. It's quite a dance. I don't feel like I've mastered it. And it feels funny to be waving goodbye in a way. I mean, more and more each day, I'm just detached from it. It's really beautiful, and I love it, and I can go into tears in a heartbeat. Uh, Blessing my water yesterday, it probably took me an hour to come back from that because there's no because. Everything's connected up. And when you know that, when you're living in heart, which is closer to that, then you know that that glass of water, that jug of water that's in your hands is one with all water everywhere, including in your body and in the plants, oceans, in the air, everywhere, all the water. And you look at the work of Masaru Emoto, I'd like to decorate with his photos of water, drops of water, and the beautiful crystalline structures that are there. And water is magic. Water is divine. Water is God somehow. And the amazing thing is it's totally malleable. It's more like in your dreams, the way you can change things in your dreams. Water responds to you that way here in 3D. You say a word over it and you've changed its structure. Chemically, it's still the same. You're not changing it from H2O, but the structure of it, it reforms, it reformulates. I watched a lovely video yesterday where I think it was in German and someone was speaking over it so we'd understand. And it was some scientific research where they were flash freezing water this way. And what they did in this one experiment, to illustrate a point, they took water from the same exact source at the same exact time in the presence of everybody. And they had a bunch of students or volunteers or whatever they were. They gave them all a glass of this water, or a jug, a quantity of this water, and had them do the little drops on the little slides, and did the flash freezing, or just looked at the structure of the water. Everybody knew it was the exact same water, but for each person doing the drops, it was different. It was clearly and apparently different. Only for that person, all of their drops had a consistency, a theme. So there was a consistency with the person, but between the people, it was gone. They did further work and took water, and you got to see what it looked like. And then they put a living flower in it. And then they took the same water, and you could almost see in the structure that the water had taken on the image of the flower. And they did it with different flowers, and sure enough, it was different. Water is magic. It may be the closest thing we have to magic on the earth. And it's so malleable. It's so flexible. It flows. It's almost like it's not really in 3D. The Primacy of Consciousness lecture, that 1 hour that'll really sock it to you by Walter Russell. In that, he asserts that what we're seeing and calling light isn't really even in 3D. It exists elsewhere, and it's like a bleed through that we're seeing, that we're calling light. And so he says it has no speed, it's everywhere at once. And so I really do like to go out there with things and just put them in heart and be with them. And they change you when you do this. If you're open, this is what I call flexible perspective. And it's really easy once you have no more fear. We process our fear as it comes up. Nobody's squeaky clean of it. But just by diving into heart and finding yourself there, there's no fear, there's no judgment, there's no criticism, the heart is divine or magic or something itself. And so I guess maybe I'll go through my history and try to find that. I think I made it a favorite. Yeah, I did. The thing with the water. And if we're just aware, see, I was holding my water yesterday, and it moves me just thinking about it. And blessing the water. I run it through a purifier that also it separates out the alkaline and the acid. And so my water that I drink is alkaline, and I put it in a crystal container with crystals in it and let the sun shine on it and all of this before I drink it. But I still bless it with my words and my heart as well. And it's so easy to be in the whole of it, not just the jug that's in front of you, the glass, but in all water simultaneously, because just like time is simultaneous, so is space. It's all here somehow. It's all very much more magic than the mind has any use for. The mind can't make heads or tails of it. Okay, I think I've gone on long enough. I'm not going to read to you. Good day then.